I don't even know where to kind of start. Been a long summer, obviously, but I like where our group is. Um, I'm not sure they like me yet. I haven't been around them as much as the rest of the staff, considering I was gone for the month of June. But I like the way the pieces have, fallen into place in terms of our skill level. I think we got some depth in some spots that we needed, and I'm excited to see how we respond against some competition that is probably a little bit different than we're used to. I think the average age of the first team we're going to play is 32. I think the youngest guy on the team is 28. And they're all pros, so be interesting to see how guys respond to that type of challenge.
I imagine these trips are always good for team camaraderie and things like that, but with how many new faces you got, how beneficial can this be for you?
Oh man, I mean, it couldn't come at a better time. Considering 9 new guys, many of which for different reasons we could need to play this year. So just the opportunity to establish the foundation of what we do on the court, but more importantly to get to know each other, and really be able to dive deep into some team bonding and guys really have an opportunity to just spend some time away from basketball in a foreign country where obviously you don't want to travel alone, and you got to probably be with somebody from the group. So it's I think it'll be very beneficial for us long term.
I was kind of anxious to hear Bryce and John Michael, and I knew they wouldn't say anything bad, but you can tell sincerity. And I asked them about the newcomers and the sincerity that these guys came in with the right attitudes, doing the right things, not trying to cheat the system. That came through. They seem to be improving glowingly with the new guys.
Yeah, I mean, there was a great intentionality on our staff's part to be more specific in the recruiting process in terms of the reasons you get to come play at Oklahoma State. First and foremost, because education is important, right? You got to go to school; it's part of the deal here. But you also want to be a part of a program that people care about, and where winning is a priority, and getting better is really, really critical as well. So these guys all, had very honest conversations about, hey, we're coming here. If you're coming here and you're going to be a part of this, whether you're returning or going to be here for the first time, the most important thing that has to be on your list of priorities is our program having success. And to a man, they bought into it. It's kind of gone a little bit easier, smoother for some guys than others. The freshmen kind of wide-eyed at times, which is usual. But I really like their attitudes. I really like their mindset, at this point in the year, because I do think that there's a healthy competitiveness, but a respect for one another and an overall respect for the program and what we need to do to have success as a group.
You've known Eric for quite a while, but just on this last road trip for the last month, did you kind of learn anything new about him, or did he show anything else to you?
The thing that I've been able to do is just learn how to coach him. So it's been less because I really had a good personal relationship with him already, but being able to pick up his tendencies, the things that he naturally gravitates to try to do on the court, how we can implement the things that he's really good at, whether it be posting up or driving the ball or shooting threes, how he is defensively. Those are some of the things that I was able to really, really tune into, because we played really good competition there. And so some of those things, kind of were able to be exposed, good or bad.
You mentioned those freshmen are kind of wide-eyed right now. Has anything surprised you about that group? Has anybody stepped up that you maybe didn't know had that?
No, I don't know if anybody has stepped up. I mean, they're all different. I would say probably the guy who's had the most consistent impact in practice has been Connor Dow. His ability to shoot the basketball obviously stands out, but he's a really good athlete. He's much better defensively than probably people would assume, probably better than I assume. and I think a lot of the credit goes to his high school coach, Bo Wallace, over at Broken Arrow. Obviously gave him a really good foundation. And Bo played college basketball himself, and so he knew how to prepare that young man. So he comes in with a pretty good grasp on that side of the ball, which is where most of them struggle. Positioning, caring about it, and so he's probably the one guy, if you would say, doing something you didn't expect them to do this early, as his ability on the defensive end.
From a rankings perspective, he's not really anywhere close to those other guys you brought in. So at what point did you kind of see that in him, that he was going to be all right?
Yeah, so fortunate for us, he played on the same team
Yeah.
BG played for in AU, so we were able to watch him a lot. I always felt like, he had a really good feel for the game, that he kind of knew where to find his place, because he played with some other really talented guys, but he wasn't afraid when his opportunities were there. And it's one thing I always appreciated is they had a humbleness and humility, but a confidence at the same time that he knew he belonged. And so again, recruiting is quirky, man. You just never know. Every situation is a little bit different. But him being down the road and us, his parents being basketball people, comes from a great family. Things that have really gave him an opportunity to I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I think it's going to be hard to not try to find some time for him because just of his IQ for the game.
There's time, and Spain won't be the determining factor, but will you or have you sat down with Bryce and with John Michael and talked? Because their legacy, I mean, they're going to leave something to this program. How important is it, and what do they want to leave?
Yeah, that was actually most of our conversations last spring. And obviously, we had a lot of guys decide not to return. Could have, and that's okay too. But like we talked about in the opening, those guys wanting to be here and represent our program in a way that we all believe, who love this program deserves to be more nationally relevant. Our fans deserve a team that's more consistently successful. And so we all have to own our part in that. And those guys have taken great ownership in setting the tone for the young guys, being more vocal as leaders. Neither one of them are naturally loud people, but I think they've gotten comfortable getting out of their comfort zone in that regard because they know it's really something that we need. We don't have many other guys who understand the language I speak from a basketball standpoint yet. And those guys do. So yeah, they've been really, really good in that regard.
Like not in a good or bad way necessarily, but with so many new faces on the roster, does it feel like a clean slate almost, or like a reset?
Yeah, it does. I mean, and I don't look at it as a good or bad way. I actually kind of think that this is going to be more normal moving forward. Unfortunately, I hate to even think that, but it's just the nature of college athletics now. It's very much more transient, a lot more turnover, and you got to adapt. And for us, we just got to make sure each time we are adapting that we're finding the right people who care about the right things. And that doesn't mean that we want guys who want to play in the NBA. We want guys who want to achieve personally, but that can't come at the expense of the success of the program.
How have you been able to manage this summer? Obviously, going to Europe for Team USA, going to tournaments for recruiting stuff, dealing with this current team. How have you, Mike Boynton, and the coaching staff kind of managed your time?
Yeah, so a lot of the credit goes to my staff. In fact, I committed to do USA basketball back in December. And then I look up on, I think Marshall had a tracker or something. I looked up one day and there was 3 guys on the roster in like April. I'm thinking to myself, may not be the smartest thing to go coach USA basketball. You got to get your own team, don't forget your day job, so to speak, right? But first of all, we got that addressed, the recruiting piece, and we were pretty aggressive. We turned over a lot of rocks. Some of them we didn't like what were under there. Some of them didn't like what we had to offer. And so once that was taken care of, then it was me getting comfortable with 9 new guys not being around because I'm so hands-on, so much about developing those personal relationships through the way we coach. But our staff felt confident that it was something that was important for our program for me to be a part of with USA, and they were confident that they could handle it here. And to their credit, it's a big part of the reason a lot of the staff changes have happened is because they've done a really good job. They've taken the ownership and taken some leadership and making sure these guys are doing what they're supposed to do on the court but off the court, and understanding just what our standards are as a program. And so I'm proud of them, but also proud of the kids, because it's not easy to say, I'm going to play for this guy who's never around. Like, what's that all about? But all the things that I did were pretty important for the program as well.
Yeah, but coaches coach players, but head coaches coach coaches.
Yes.
So, you take some satisfaction in, okay, I left for a month, I came back, and wasn't like they played all month. They got down and got work done.
Yeah, to a person. Everybody on our staff was tasked with something specific that I usually do, and everything was taken care of. In fact, our guys, I watched because they got film from the workout, so I was able to watch, and I saw improvement from the time they got here until the time I got back. It felt good to know that. I guess I shouldn't say the program doesn't need me, but that we got a good staff. That's very comforting.
Because of that time that you missed, does this trip have some added value for you that it wouldn't in a normal year?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I would have the guys at my house a couple times over the summer. I got to go to their place. I just haven't been able to do those things that I normally would do in the summer. So this trip will be good. I'll be able to, go on a walk with somebody or sit at dinner with different guys or at lunches or whatever, and really spend that time that I missed this summer. So that's the part I'm looking forward to the most. The other part, to be honest, I haven't seen my family either. So I'm gonna fortunately be able to have them with us, and so being able to, spend some time.
There goes the ice cream.
There goes the ice cream. Yep.
Sacrifices.
I know, man.
What's with the ice cream?
My wife's gonna be on the trip.
No ice cream?
She's a dietitian. So
Strict.
No calories in the Spain ice cream.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
In
Calorie
Hungary-
free.
In Hungary, I think he.
Had some ice cream in Hungary. I think I had ice cream every day in Hungary. You guys aren't allowed to print that, all right?
Is there anything else you're specifically away from basketball that you're looking forward to seeing or doing while you're there?
Again, mostly it's just watching these guys. This is an opportunity of a lifetime, and I want to keep that perspective where it needs to be. That thankful to our administration and some of our supporters who are helping us, fund this thing so that these kids can go do this. Right, we get to do it by rule every 4 years, and so the bonding and all that stuff. But also being able to go to Spain, and Barcelona is a pretty cool place. I've been there. Madrid and Valencia are pretty cool places, and to be able to say that they did it. Some of them have never been out of the country. Many of them got their passports, just for this trip. So that part would be cool too, just to see kind of how they take in the moment and the opportunity.
How are the transfers integrating with each other? I imagine that could be difficult for them all coming from different spots.
Yeah, that's so Zay was the latest, and obviously he's younger than the others. The other guys are like AARP guys. Mike Marsh. It's crazy. Until last Thursday was Justin McBride's 18th birthday. I think it was July 3rd was Mike Marsh's 24th birthday. So I had a 23-year-old and a 17-year-old on the same team, right? It's college basketball in 2023. But they've done a really good job. I think, again, back to the beginning, like the conversations with them about why you come here, right? And it's obviously, for all of them, right, a bigger stage than they had played on at the college level. And so just taking pride in putting on the uniform and being able to practice in this building and be on this campus and all the legacy of guys that have played here before. But they've done a good job of trying to show some leadership and use their experience to help our young guys. The only one who hasn't really been out there much is Mike. Mike had a little shoulder procedure early in the spring. and he'll be fine for the season. We just didn't feel like we should push him this early to get back. He's played enough basketball, so we were comfortable with just letting him kind of work his way back through the summer. And the young guys need the reps, but the other transfers have been really, really good. Zay's probably got the most upside of anybody. I mean, I don't know how much you guys saw today, but he's pretty talented. And Jarius is just what we needed. Another really experienced guy who has proven to be a shot maker. He's got a pretty good feel for spacing the floor and making simple plays. But Javon's probably stood out the most of anybody on our team, just in his command of the position and his confidence in making the game easier for his teammates. Somebody who played the position and is pretty critical of it. Feel very fortunate we got him.
Do you have an idea for a lineup you're gonna throw out there?
Not really. And I'll be honest. I mean, I'm sure we'll report something over there. I wouldn't read anything into it. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know what I don't know. We practiced 9 times. Like, that's not enough to know what groupings work best together. So we'll see. We'll play around with different lineups. And some guys we won't really push as much. So again, I wouldn't read anything in the minutes and stuff like that while we're playing there. And I'm gonna try to tell the guys that, although they won't listen.
I've been
Said he's gonna make it up anyway.
Yeah, we should. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I've been asked about the 13th scholarship a ton, so I imagine you have too. Any updates on?
No, nothing new. I mean, we've got some. How do I say this? I mean, again, we're always recruiting. When we get to 13, we're not going to stop recruiting. So we won't be over 13, but we won't stop, checking on leads or whatever. And there's a couple guys who we've checked on here in the last couple weeks. We won't do anything before we leave for this trip, but certainly once we get back, we'll have to make some pretty hard line decisions because school will start. That's kind of your cutoff with where you are.
Mike, can you kind of comment on the composition of your coaching staff? I know you've moved some stuff around, and can you just kind of talk about those moves?
Yeah, order should go in. I guess Keaton was early, right? Obviously, just a great opportunity for a guy who's given so much to the program to elevate into a new role. Probably now the only thing left is for him to be the head coach here. So, but he's a coach's kid, and he grew up around the game and loves it. Has worked his butt off. I didn't see Keaton play in high school or college, but I would imagine that a lot of the reasons he was successful as a player are the things that I've watched him do, which is just put his head down and grind and work hard, and not necessarily in a arrogant way, but chip on his shoulder type of mentality to prove to people that he's good enough to do it. And so, well-deserved opportunity for him. Being able to get Scott and James, who were the most recent, kind of move-ups, which new rules, kind of loosening up the restrictions on staff, staff and responsibilities. Those guys can now be on the court and help us a little bit more. And JB was doing that, but he was doing it as a GA before. And he's done with grad school, got his master's. And then Coach Rencher, I think he's probably ready to be head coach. And so I want to try to help as much as I can expose that to people out there who are decision makers in that regard. He's taken great ownership in our defense over the last couple years, and has done a good job with relationships within the team and recruiting, and he's done it all well. And I've known him for a long time, and that was a deserved opportunity for him. I don't know, Brian, we want to talk about that one too. He's new, he's good. Nelson Hernandez kind of moved into what Keaton was doing, director of ops type stuff. They give stuff different titles now. It doesn't matter that much to me. How good you are at the responsibilities and the job are the most important thing. But his experience, he brings a different perspective, and he's another guy who's going to help kind of organize us as we move forward logistically.
Does Terrence have more responsibilities now? And like, what are you asking more of him in this?
Yeah,
role?
so he's essentially going to be our defensive coordinator in many regards, and he's already our recruiting coordinator. So he'll take ownership in a lot of our defensive schemes as we go into the season.
I've seen some staffs around the country add like a GM type
Yeah.
role. What are your thoughts on that?
So Duke actually did that, I think, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
They were first. Yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, we're not there, but I get that, you know, there's so many new intricacies in the industry, and so having someone who can really just focus on whether it's, you know, roster management or, you know, organizing your portal recruiting boards, whatever it is. I mean, it's just a new day, or the NIL stuff, and everybody's using that role a little bit differently. So, you know, I can certainly see, I know Texas Tech just hired one, Villanova hired one, I think, so it's gonna become more and more common as we move forward.